Folks, this week on the Prereal podcast, we were joined by Camila Lincowski. Camila came over from Puerto Rico and in 2015 moved out to Las Vegas and essentially started her career in real estate with nothing. Fast forward 8 years later, she is the top performing agent out of 20,000 in her district, and she's done it on personal service, grit, creativity, connection, and authenticity. It really reminded me of the way things were done years ago in the real estate game. Tremendous insights, really, really great ideas. She's having all the success in the world. She's representing all sorts of stars and athletes. She's gone right to the top. Camila Lincowski, it's a good episode, great fundamentals. Check it out.
Are you ready to bring your real estate game to the next level? My name is James Prendamano. I'm the CEO and founder of Prereal. And over the past 25 years, I've closed over $1 billion in transactional real estate. Each week, I'm meeting with outstanding investors, high-performing individuals, and visionaries operating in the real estate space. These are the people that are actually out there in the real estate game right now getting it done. This podcast aims at bringing anyone's game to the next level. This is the Prereal Podcast.
Welcome to the Prereal Podcast, folks. We're joined today by Camila Lincowski. She is an agent, doesn't properly phrase this. She is the agent at Players at Platinum. A remarkable story, incredible following, heck of a book of business. Camila, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. So people don't wake up and, become an agent to athletes and the stars. I'm sure you've had a heck of a journey, and it's important, I think, when we do these shows and we have top performers on like yourself, that we give a little context for the audience. It can be intimidating and people feel like they're talking to an avatar. So can you talk a little bit about the beginnings for you, where you're from originally, and a bit of your journey to get here?
Sure. So I was born in Puerto Rico. I was raised in Miami. I moved to Vegas because of my then now husband. Well, he's my boyfriend then, my husband now. And I started here in Vegas with nothing. Like, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know my left from my right. And my husband's one of the top lenders here in Vegas, and at the time was as well. And one day we were sitting and we were eating. I'm like, hey, what do you think about me, getting into real estate? My background, I did reality TV, and I got my master's in communication. And like they say, communication degrees like useless, but I did learn a lot. So he's like, yeah, let's see how you do. So I did the course, I passed the test. The bar's set pretty low. I'm sure everybody knows that, to pass. And I don't know, I just told everyone I met that I was a real estate agent. And I remember us going one day to a Super Bowl party, and I didn't know anyone. And I remember this woman said, so what do you do? And I'm like, I'm a real estate agent. And she's like, oh, well, my husband wants to sell his bachelor pad. Can you help us? And I was like, yes. And that blossomed into a great friendship. And she referred me a bunch of people, and she bought a couple houses herself for me and sold a couple houses. So that is what I would say is, you got to tell everyone who is listening that you're a real estate agent, even if there's a million real estate agents in the room, because there was when I was there at that party.
So you're in a district that has plus or minus 20,000 agents, and you're in the top of those agents consistently, and that does not happen by accident. And it certainly doesn't happen just from having a conversation. But I think the key piece there is action. You have to take action in this business. You have to be constantly moving. What are some of the other things that you've done over the years to build the brand, establish the book, continue to prospect? What could you offer to aspiring agents or agents that are moving up through the ranks? Some tips, tricks, things that you've done that have landed?
So, when I first started with my first athlete, and this was during COVID, we developed a friendship, and because everybody had to be isolated. So we developed a friendship, and I remember him calling me and saying, and I was pregnant too during COVID, and he goes, "Hey," it was like August, it was like 110 degrees out. I was like 7 months pregnant. He's like, "Listen, there's one of the guys brought their real estate agent. He's like, you need to come here tomorrow and you need to meet all the guys because you're a great agent." So I went with my big pregnant self and I just like introduced myself to everyone. I also like followed a bunch of them on Instagram, and it was good to put like a name to the face because you write them DMs, and they get so many that when they write back, it's great, but you can have like a conversation and then it may go somewhere or it may not. So it was nice for them to be put in front of them. But also like in my neighborhood, for those who don't have an athlete client or what have you, I do like pop buys. I have 78 homes in my neighborhood, and I started this by like, I make really good salsa, and everyone always asks like, you should sell your salsa. So I just do like, I started with like December, like 2 or 3 years ago, I did like little mason jars. The whole thing probably cost with the 78 homes, maybe like $350. And I just put like, spice up your holidays, love Cami, your neighborhood realtor. And I put my card and all that. I got over like 10 leads from that, which was great. So, and then I just constantly like stay in front of them. Now I do pop buys. Like I just did one on October 1st. I did, bottle openers, and they were little magnetic bats. And I put some candy, and it was like a little decorative Halloween box. And I put my card. That again cost me like $350. So it's stuff like that. I think personalized stuff, and you like take the effort to go to their home, to drop it off and have a conversation with them. That stuff's priceless.
So something agents look past frequently is we don't do business with people we don't like. And they use social media as a way to talk about just listed, just sold, just listed, just sold. And I tell the folks here and the agents that we mentor and communicate with over the years and now decades, nobody gives a shit if you just listed and just sold something. If it's a real specific campaign and you're establishing value in a neighborhood and you're providing stats and information and you're educating the folks in that neighborhood, okay. But you've got to connect.
Sorry about that.
All good. You've got to connect with people. You have to establish some sort of if it's, I like to fly fish, post about fly fish. I like to think I'm super dad, a lot of stuff with my kids. Other people relate to those things. That's the initial catch. So for you to make your, world famous salsa and drop it off to everybody in the community, is that an organic thing, or is that a product of you reading books and, trying to find ways to cultivate the business? How do those things come to you?
Oh, that just was organic, if I'm honest with you. I didn't read any books about it. I just felt like, if somebody's going to trust me with the biggest purchase in their life, I want them to get to know me, like it's just common sense. It's logic, so I'm going to give you the salsa, and they're going to remember this salsa because it's so good. And it got to the point now that they messaged me, "Hey, are you passing out salsa this year?" Like that kind of, so it's one of those things where like you want people to remember you. I mean, obviously I do mailers as well. That's just the plus. Do I do the just sold, just listed? Yeah, I do that too, but that's just the plus. Yep. The core is getting to know someone. Like I know some of my neighbors don't like it spicy, so I literally have some mild set aside, and then I have some spicy set aside, because I take the effort to get to know these people. And I also do like, I do it twice a year, and I do one in the summer and I did one in the fall, and I get a coffee truck for the neighborhood. And then I'll do Italian ice truck for the neighborhood in the summer. And it's just like a good way to get the neighbors together. But also, I won't even talk to them about work. I'll just have like a flyer there with what's sold, what's on the market, how the market looks. But if you can pick it up, you can pick it up. That's great. But if you don't, that's great too. Like, Yep. It doesn't matter because they know I did it and they know where to find me.
So as you're putting this book of business together, that first athlete that you connected with on Instagram, was there any connection prior to that? Had you been messaging athletes and stars in general, or was this a random thing? How did this come about?
So it started with, the Las Vegas Raiders. They were coming to Vegas, and obviously that wasn't a market that was tapped into because we have the Golden Knights, but I hadn't had my license yet when the Golden Knights came. So I thought, okay, this is an even playing field essentially. So I'm gonna get on it. I'm verified on Instagram. Now everyone can be verified if you want, but at the time there wasn't. So that was my edge. That was my advantage. So I would DM them. I would then see if they had any wives. I would DM the wives. I would what are they gonna say to you? No, okay. And I would say 99.9% of the time, I got a response because they look at your profile. They see whether it's the wife or whoever. They see I'm married. They see I have kids. They see I have a family, and then so they'll respond to me and be like, hey, yeah, but I'm just looking to rent, that's fine. Hey, I'll help you. No problem. Guess what? They get that bigger contract, they're going to buy. And that's what happens when they do get the bigger contract. They come back to you, the person that made the effort when they just needed a rental and, would message them after a game, or I go to most of the home games and I see them, I say hello and say hi to their family, and I drop gifts off for the holidays. I mean, not like huge gifts, but like little Popeyes, that kind of stuff. Even when it's a rental and they close on it, I still bring them like a nice bottle of champagne with glasses, and I usually get it like personalized, the label. So, stuff like that. And it's those little things that people remember and they appreciate.
So
And that just snowballed.
Without a doubt, personal touch, and again, you're taking action where others are not. That's a remarkable amount of, or percent of people to respond. Was this early in your career? Had you been selling for years prior to, or did you jump in and say, I'm going for the top here, let's hit it and go?
Basically, yeah. So I've had my license for like 5 years. I got it 2018, but that was at the end, and I didn't really, like the end of 2018. So I got married, and then that's when I was like, okay, let's get into this. And then the Raiders were coming, so that it just was like a perfect storm, really. Like I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this. And I'm not gonna lie, I faked it till I made it. Like, don't get me wrong. People were like, how long have you been in the business? Couple years, Yeah, I had my broker if I had any questions. I didn't make any rookie mistakes, but at the same time, I seemed really confident. I came off like I knew what I was doing, that kind of thing. So that definitely helps, because when you come into this business timid and your client can see that, they don't want that. They want someone that's going to guide them through this process, because they don't know how to buy a home, what to do when they buy a home,
So that's a great point. Another thing that I feel agents devalue, if they give value to it at all. We have knowledge and most folks don't. And what we do ties to, as you touched on earlier, it's likely the most expensive thing this individual is ever going to buy, sell, or rent in their portfolio, full stop. And that's powerful stuff. And as agents, we're conduits to this information, and we're there to provide a service, and a personal one at that. So you're building this book of business. What type of tools are you using for data management, for example? Like you said, certain neighbors like mild salsa, other neighbors don't. I'm sure you're logging this information somewhere, right? Unless your mind is a supercomputer.
I don't log it.
Wow. You're doing all of this on the fly.
I don't have a CRM. I mean, listen, I know people use CRMs, and I wish I was one of them. I just don't. Like, if I need a reminder, I'll put it in my calendar, like a reminder to follow up with somebody on something like that. I know is like we have a time constraint on, but I don't. I do everything like it's all up here. I know it's crazy to say, and it's probably, no, I don't have a CRM. I don't have anything that I log anything in. Probably should.
Wow. So you've built a hell of a following and a heck of a brand. Any tips, tricks, thoughts, ideas to share with agents on content, information, how to get going and maintain it?
Just be consistent. One thing I learned, and I try to tell this to agents, and I know people are like, I'm broke. Like, I can't pay $350 for mailers or whatever. So, and I get it. So what I did too was, guess what? They're talking about interest rates right now everywhere, and your local news on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. Guess what you do? I've done this too, and this is how I started getting leads. You look at the comments, and you're going to see people saying, "I can't afford it. I can barely afford my rent. I can't do this." So I always respond and say, "Hey, check your messages. You'd be surprised what you can afford. There's a lot of down payment assistance programs." And so I message them. Like I said, my husband, he's a lender. I say, "Hey, I'm going to connect you with somebody. I think that you're underestimating as to what you can afford." So connect them, and then that's a lead right there. And that is something that's free and easy, and you're always on your phone anyways. So why not just check the comments? Another one is you go on Twitter, now X, and you just put "moving to Vegas" in the search bar. And when you do that, you'll see what's come up with people saying, "I'm moving to Vegas." Send them a DM. "Hey, I see you're moving to Vegas. Is there any way I can help you?" That kind of stuff. And that's free leads right there.
So are you at this point dealing with just an exclusive clientele?
I deal with everyone.
You deal with everyone.
Yeah, everyone. Whoever needs, everybody needs a house, whether it's a rental or you're going to buy, or they don't know what they want to do. I don't discriminate.
So what does the market look like out by you now?
It's slower, like everywhere else. When a nice home comes on the market, like a unicorn that's like turnkey and ready to go, it goes quicker than others. It's just harder because a lot of people are priced out with, where interest rates, where they're at. So cash is obviously king at the moment, but I have a lot of people coming from California where they're like, "I don't care about these 8% or 7% interest rates. Like, I just need to get the hell out of here. So can you do a FaceTime tour?" And that's I just do FaceTime tours, and they're like, "Okay, that's fine. That's what the offer, and I'm coming this weekend." So
there is
a little bit of both.
Yeah, there's a massive shift. My entire investment thesis, where we bought a lot of property and projects out in New Mexico, is built on this unbelievable decentralization that we're seeing from the major cities and the digital assets. We sell property all the time now through the Matterport tours, and we have really good assets digitally. And it's literally like being in the home now. The technology is so ridiculous that, we have to tell clients, like, put your mail away when we come in and do the shoots, because you could read the mail on these tours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And folks, like you said, are just feeling like, I need to go. I'm coming out of a market where prices have risen to such a level that it doesn't matter, because it's such a step down in price from where we're coming from. And it typically is a commensurate step up in size and quality that you're getting, right? So I think that trend is probably here to stay for the foreseeable future. Is there a certain price point that you have found has slowed down more or less, or has it been kind of across the board you're seeing this change, or is it dependent upon up to $1 million, under 500, over 2 million?
I had a deal die that was, 3.6 million. And if the rates were at where they were last year, he would have saved over $4,000 on his mortgage. So the deal died, so obviously the higher the price point, the harder the blow, so it's hit or miss, really. It's those people that are like, "I don't care, I'll refi. I don't care, I'll refi in a couple of months." But then there's these first time home buyers that they're like, "I don't have, I thought I was going to pay this much, and I don't have this much. So now I have to, go to a home that's, let's say $400,000, right? But then they're getting beat out by cash buyers, because cash is king right now, obviously. So it's hit or miss, really. I've been really fortunate in this market to where like my buyers that I've had have, most of them have like been like, I don't care, I just want to close, or I need to be here.
So it's interesting what we're seeing in the market, and people forget that this is a cycle, and every time, this is the third full cycle I'll have gone through. It's remarkable to me how even the grizzled vets forget it's a cycle and things are going to turn. And if they don't turn, we all have much bigger problems, and it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So we're preaching to our clients, buy value now. If you have the resources, obviously, and you can afford the payment, there is value out there in the market. This is not a time to sit on the sidelines. It's quite the opposite. Sellers are starting, at least by us, we're seeing the sellers are starting to understand the realities of the market, and pricing is now starting to adjust commensurate to that rise in interest rates. So prices are coming down, and there's value on the table. And when rates go back down, and there's a lot of reasons that we think this will happen sometime in the middle to end of next year, the market kicks off again, right? And it starts a new cycle. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that there's value out there in the market today?
I do. I mean, I think that if you're like, this is what people like don't understand, is that they're like, well, I'm going to buy this house. I don't work with investors, but they're like, I'm going to buy this house. They're like, well, what if next year the value goes down? I go, how long do you plan on staying in this house? Oh, like 20 years probably. I said, so what does it matter if it does go down? It's going to go back up. Like I can't tell you where your value is going to be in 20 years, but I can tell you if you're going to stay here, from now, until 20 years, it's going to go up, down, up, down, up, down, but you will make a profit at the end. And at the end of the day, you have a home that is yours. That's what you want, right? Like, what are you now, like some sort of investor I don't know about, so I get where we're coming from, where they're kind of like, well, what about the value? But if you're going to stay there, does it really matter if you're going to leave in 20 years, right? What's the value going to be next year or next month?
Yeah, it doesn't. Real estate's a long play, and there is a lot of value that we're seeing built into the market right now, and there is a growing pent-up demand of people who don't have the resources, who can't sell, who can't make that move now, but that pool is growing every day, right? There's more and more folks that feel trapped and they want to make this move. They don't have the resources to do it. When rates tick down, and Congress passed 40-year mortgages a few months ago, right? So now people have the ability to stretch that out another 10 years, commensurate almost 30% drop in payments with a drop in interest rates. We feel that the housing market is headed for some great times. We've got another rough year or so to get through, but this is where you stack the value, and like you said, when the tide turns, you refinance and you're in great position.
Yeah, and what goes up must come down, and what goes down must go up. People have to see it that way, even though we're down here, I get it, but it'll get better. Do I think we're gonna be back at that 2% interest rate? I don't think so. I think that'll be tight. Like, if it happens, it'll be a long ways away,
Yeah, agreed.
But even if you think about it, is 7% really that bad? If you think about it,
Historically, it's not. The first house I bought was 13%.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I get it. People are like, well, when it was 2%, I understand that. And I see where people are coming from, but we can't live in that past either. Because then what if it, like, God forbid, we get to 10% and they're like, man, I should have gotten that 7%, like coulda, shoulda, woulda, So people say, like, what do you think is going to happen? I'm like, I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I could tell you. If not, I'd be like, in the Maldives if I knew what was going to happen.
Well, like you said, no one's got a crystal ball, but we do have markets and cycles and history and factors that we can look at. And value is value, period. If the value is there and you have the resources, we're all in, and we're encouraging our clients to do the same thing. When the market was hopping there, did you have that bidding war period for like a year and a half where everything was a bidding war?
Yeah. I had my one client even tried to give season tickets to the Raiders.
Wow.
And he still got beat out.
Wow.
Yeah. It was intense, the bidding wars that were going on.
What are some of the things you do in that market? I mean, is there anything you can do when things are that way to try and distinguish your bids?
I had one client offer pizza every week, every Friday for 6 months. Yeah. So they owned a pizza shop, and they got it. So that's great, but at the same time, I like to tell my clients, like, do you love this house? You and I know a house is only worth what someone will buy it for. Okay. So I'm like, I never pushed my clients to put a bunch of money that, over, because I didn't want it to where, like, God forbid, they're like, well, this house is a shithole and you made me go 50,000. Nope. I never encouraged it. I always say, that's what you guys want to do, go for it. But I advise you not to do it, because I don't want them to come back at me and be upset with me. I want it to be their decision. I don't want to persuade you. If you love the home and you want to do that, then great. I will be more than happy to put in the offer. But I try to stay away from that whole bidding war thing. And a lot of clients, like, they're higher end, they're businessmen, a lot of them. And so they're like, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to go back and forth with them. This is my offer. And that's it. They take it or leave it.
Okay. So do you prefer being a buyer rep or a seller rep?
Buyer.
Why?
Buyer. 100% buyer. It's just nice. I like, somebody once told me, and it really stuck with me, was deals are made in the car. So a lot of my clients, like I said, are out of town, or they're athletes just coming in. So I pick them up from the hotel, and we are, I'm getting to know this person, and they're getting to know me, and I'm talking to them about their life, and they're talking to me about their life. So it's just, you get to like a personal level to where, like, I trust you, you trust me. Like, so they'll be like, Cammy, what do you think? What should we do? Instead of, I want to do this, and there's no, communication. So I really like being a buyer's agent because, we get to go see houses together, neighborhoods. And then every time I get out and we go in the car, I'm like, okay, so what do you think? Rate the house 1 to 5. What do you think? And they'll tell me their, the pros, the cons, and then we discuss it on the way to the next house. So I really like being a buyer's agent. I like being a listing agent too, but buyer's agent is really what I mainly am, as a buyer's agent.
And do you contract with your buyers? Do you have them?
Nope.
So it's completely dependent on you being available and delivering outstanding service.
I'm not going to make someone work with me that don't want to work with me. I'm not going to be like, well, I'm going to bind you to this paper. No, if you don't want to work with me, I probably don't want to work with you. And I fired one buyer. Yes, one buyer I fired because the lady was calling me while I was giving birth. Oh. And I was like, I'm in labor, because I pick up my phone all the time. Oh, that's so great. Congratulations. So, listen about that. And I'm like, kidding me? I was like, no. And that one was gone. But other than that, like, I've never had any issues.
One of the things that I was attracted to in the bio is you say you're not a 9-to-5 agent, you're a 24/7 agent. And
I am.
You're not going to deal with Camila's assistants, you're going to deal with Camila. So many agents miss the mark with that personal connection, and how this is, again, likely the most important thing they're ever going to buy, right? It's probably the most expensive thing they're ever going to buy or sell, and building that rapport, doing the drives. That's an art. 30 years ago, that's the only way we did it. We made the client come to the office, they got in the car with us, and they drove over. Nowadays, there's a lot of just show one house, they meet you there, people don't want to be bothered with it, and that is an art that has been lost. and is incredibly powerful in this world where nothing seems real anymore between artificial intelligence and CGI and all of the things that are going on. There's people miss that human connection. They want to be able to sit and talk to somebody knowledgeable.
Yeah. And, and I think as well, like some of these newer agents that come into real estate they want like this instant gratification. And that's not going to happen. Like people want, like, I showed you a house. What do you mean you don't want to buy this house? Like, what do you mean? And they're literally looking up their commission the moment they see the houses and stuff like that. And that's where you lose your authenticity. That's where you lose yourself. I had a friend, and we got into like a little friendly debate because she's like, I want to get my real estate license. I just want to make an extra like 10 grand a year. And she works in medical sales. And I said, so what are you going to do if you have a buyer that says, hey, I need to see this house right now, and you're in the middle of a surgery? What are you going to do? And she's like, well, I'll tell them to wait. I go, they don't want to wait. They're not going to wait for you. Because if they see that this is not your main job and that you are doing something else and you don't have time for them, well, guess what? They're not going to make time for you. It's that simple. I mean, people don't get it. They think that, oh, because I showed this person a house, they're my client now, and they should have bought that house and they owe me money. And it's like, no, you have to put the time and effort into it. You have to earn your business. Earn it from them.
No doubt. You have to be authentic. You have to be available. And there's got to be that connection. There has to be that common element, that thread that you share with this person, and you build trust. And the best way to sell is to not sell at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's next for you?
We filmed something that's coming out soon, but can't really say what it is, but it'll be a big thing for Vegas. It's about real estate and myself and other real estate professionals. And that's all I can say, but it'll be on a big network. So in the middle of like negotiations. So hopefully that'll be done by year end. Yeah.
Well, best of luck with your Raiders this year. I know they're off to a tough start.
It's okay. They got this. They got this. Okay.
Yeah, they're a gritty team. So I think that there's obviously plenty of runway left, and hopefully they turn it around. Camila, where's the best place for folks to find you?
Instagram, CAMI_LI, so Cami_Lee. And I respond to all my DMs. I see all my DMs. I'm always here to help. If anybody wants any help, I always, listen, I can give anyone the knowledge. It's whether or not they want to do it. People are like, why do you tell people your secrets? I'm like, because I can tell you right now that most of them aren't going to do it.
Yeah.
They'll say they are, but they're not. Yeah,
with all the information that's available to agents today, all of the tools in the toolbox. Wow. I mean, this game has changed so dramatically from 30 years ago when we were getting a book every 2 weeks and you had to really hustle and show personal service, and we were working off prospecting cards to artificial intelligence and the stuff that's out there today. There really is every tool you could ever need, and free information, right? Folks like yourself are sharing the way to do it. What you laid out today is so authentic and so true and so easily repeatable if you have the mindset, the commitment, the drive, which of course is the X factor. But the secret sauce is just you offer legit, authentic personal service, and you're available. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Pick up your phone, please.
That's it. All the information, as always, folks, will be below. Camila Lincowski, appreciate your time. Thank you very much, and best of luck with your project.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
My pleasure. As always, everyone, please stay safe.